I think inclusive leaders, if I talk about it more generally first, are those that speak from their hearts and their minds, but from their hearts, because, and we did a piece of research actually with King's College, and it talked a lot about CEOs who actually talk from the heart and actually bring the people inside their organisation with them, both from the leadership level all the way down. And without wishing to be self-effacing to my own chairman at KPMG, he's done an enormous amount to shift the profile of inclusive leadership inside the organisation, not as something that sits on the side that isn't a business issue, but is front and centre. And I think a lot of that has to do with the way he talks about it. It's very personal and it's very important to him.
Part of inclusive leadership is leadership. It is not entirely a free-for-all. It's not a complete everybody has the same vote. You have to make decisions at the end of the day, and the leader has to lead and has to produce the way ahead. But really needs to understand all of those people who are going to be involved in delivering whatever that output is right from the beginning. So I think you need to, I define inclusive leadership as looking at everybody's perspective to start with, understanding where everybody is coming from, taking into account everybody's views on how something ought to be done, and particularly looking at those views that challenge your own idea, because most people have an intuitive first start, and this is what I think we ought to do. Somebody else might have a completely different perspective on that, but is not in the position of leadership or with the responsibility to be able to enact that. But that viewpoint could be just as valid as the leader's view. So I think it's getting all of those views, harnessing them, and then deciding, actually, in light of what I now understand, because I've included everybody in this project, in this piece of work, or in this decision, actually the best course of action is now the following. And then communicating that in a way that you've understood where they're coming from. You say, well, this is what we're now going to do. I understand it's not what everybody was thinking about, but actually taking everything into balance, that's the way to do it. And then being quite determined that you've done the right thing. And that sort of has an inclusiveness at the start point of the decision as to what you're going to do, and then an inclusiveness of everybody who you're asking to do it. Because I think we have to recognise, some of the things we do will not be exactly the same way that everybody that we lead and manage are in charge of want to do.
Well, I think there are a number of things that an inclusive leader should demonstrate. So in no particular order. I think it's really important that you demonstrate a respect and understanding for different individuals, different styles, different ways of doing things, different thinking styles, different types of ideas. Because at the end of the day, if you're not open and if you don't respect that, then you won't be able to get the benefits of having people of with different approaches in your organisation. So I think respect and openness is really important. I think being willing to listen. What I would suggest is that oftentimes it's colleagues who are right at the front line, customer facing within an organisation, who actually know what customers need and want, who know what might need to be done to change things. And so it's really important that the leader listens to that and doesn't shut down ideas. I think trying to role model a style around civility, respect, openness, getting people to think about whether they do have any unconscious biases, and at least being aware of that in the way that they manage their teams, how they allocate work, all of those sorts of attributes I think are really important for an inclusionary leader. At the end of the day, the leader still has to lead. So, they are going to have to listen and use all of the experience within the organisation, but at the end of the day, they're going to have to use that to then say, okay, this is the direction that we're going in. And importantly, engage people on what needs to be done and why it needs to be done. So I guess that would be an additional factor, the importance of engaging people.